Right, welcome to another painting tutorial on Striking Scorpion 82. In this episode I'm going to be showing you how to paint the Genestealers from the 2009 Space Hulk set that came out. So the Blood Angels painting tutorial has been out for quite a while now, and it's helped a lot of people, but this one's been a request. That's one of the main requests I've had on the channel, is to get this Genestealer one done. So this will complete the How to Paint series for the Space Hulk set, but the Blood Angels one, you can apply it to regular Blood Angels. And this one, I think it's timely to produce this tutorial now with the release of the new Genestealer Codex and Army. If you like this colour scheme, I'm a real fan of this traditional Genestealer colour scheme, just really love the colour combination, then you can use this if you're collecting Space Hulk, but also you can apply this technique if you're collecting Genestealer Cults as well. So this is the model. I'm going to paint it to this standard, so the standard you see here, I'm going to show you exactly how to get to this result. So just follow along step by step, just follow all the instructions and paint. Stop and pause the video as you go along and just follow along here. Maybe just paint one miniature to start off with, and then when you're happy with the technique, then you can apply it and start batch painting your other models. But just follow along here step by step. I'll show you all the way how to get to this end result here. But as I said, lovely colour scheme. I'll show you all the different techniques involved with that, and then remember there's the Blood Angel tutorial that's already on the channel if you're looking to paint up the Space Hulk set. And then for actual games of Space Hulk, just mentioned, they are available on the Plus channel, so you actually see these being used in Space Hulk battle reports. Right, so just going to run through the paints that you'll need for this project. Just going to run through them here, but also going to list them in the video description as well, so you'll see exactly what you need. So Ushabti Bone is the first one here. Then Wazdakka Red, that's like for the tongue here on the Genestealer. Then your black and white Ceramite White, and then your Abaddon Black. Then Dawnstone, that's for highlighting the claws. And then some older paints here, Lich Purple, which is now called Xereus Purple there, and then Necron Abyss, which is the old paint, which is now called Kantor Blue. Crucial colours, those are the key colours of this project. Then Snot Green, just for this particular model, not in general, but for some of the wiring and details on the base, you can use Snot Green, and that is now called Warpstone Glow. Then metallics, again just for the base here, Iron Breaker. Then washes, we'll be using a series of washes, Seraphim Sepia and Agrax Earthshade. These are to do the base, let's put the washes on. Then Drakenhof Nightshade, and then also Leviathan Purple, got an important one, that one there as well. Yeah, and just check that Leviathan Purple has changed names now. Druchii Violet is called now, is the new name. Same ink, but they've changed the name on that one. Right, and then for sprays, there's two. I use the Montana Gold acrylic here. You can get these places like eBay. It's sort of a graffiti artist sprays, so you can get it from those kind of online stores and shops. But it's by Montana Gold, and then the name of this one is Stealth. It's the grey that you see in all the basing that I do for the models. It's that grey colour. It's a great foundation colour, and we're going to use it in this project here as well for these Genestealers. So it's Stealth Discreet here it's called, but that's the name of it just there. If you're unable to get a hold of this one, that's not available in some countries. Most people are able to get a hold of it, but if you're not able to get a hold of this one, you're just looking for not a dark grey, not a medium, it's just sort of just that colour there. So I used to get a spray from Halford's store in the UK, and it was called Tempest Grey. It was Rover Tempest Grey, and that was a close match to this as well. But just look around for a grey spray of that kind of colour. 7070 is the code here for that one. Just a dark grey spray. If you don't have that, then you can swap it out for another colour. You're sort of painting layers of paint on top of all of it anyway, so something equivalent to that I don't think would be too much of a problem. So that's that one. And then Purity Seal, Games Workshop Purity Seal, is quite crucial as well. So those are the colours you need, and the sprays also. So this is one that I've finished. The actual model we're going to be painting is a similar pose, but there's more of a base involved on this one here, so I'll be able to show you how to paint the base, a bit of wiring to do, and then the metallic effect. There's some skulls there as well, which I'll show you how to paint those also, and then the Genestealer leaping down. One of my favourite poses from the set, so this is the one we're going to be painting in this video. Right, so preparation then for the model. So you construct the model, put it together, and the first step is to give it a coat of the stealth spray, just to give it that grey spray colour. So that's sprayed over the whole thing, and then, I know there's metallic on here, come to that in a moment. Then after that's completely dry, you've got to give it a good few hours. You don't want it, you've got to wait till it's completely dried out. Then, crucially, you give it a spray of the Purity Seal, the clear matte varnish that Games Workshop produce. The reason why you do that is this comes out quite glossy. Not too bad, but a little bit glossy, but it comes out and it's difficult to put washes over the top and paint over the top. It can form into puddles and so on. So to break that surface tension, I found that Purity Seal, just a spray of that, make sure you spray up underneath the model and from all directions, because wherever you miss, that paint's going to struggle to go on. And then once that dries, you'll see that the paint flows on and washes flow on nicely without breaking up at all. So crucial point in that. And then when that's totally dry, the model's ready to paint. So what I've done here, I've already finished the first stage, and that is taking a coat of the Iron Breaker and then just painting the whole base, all the details, leaving the skulls, they didn't need to be done, but all the metallic work I've given a coat of that Iron Breaker. And that's the great thing about using this mid darker grey spray here, is that the silver goes on nicely, one coat, and that's pretty much covered it. There's a nice background colour of the grey there, which is a pretty close match. So it's a nice foundation to build up from. So that's that metallic done. We're going to move on to do a few other colours next. Okay, so onto Ushabti Bone here. Not much on the model itself, just the teeth. You almost don't even need to do this, but I'm just going to fill in the mouth here where the teeth are. And that can just be filled in with the Ushabti Bone, like that, and then just in here as well, like so. And then the main part where this is used is the skulls. So you want to paint the skulls here on the base, and I fill in the eye sockets. Just gives them that depth when the washes go on. One coat should do it. Again, the paint flows on nicely because you've sprayed it with the Purity Seal, so it lets the paint go on. Pretty good. So working on base colours is always the same process I use. It's base colours first of all, so you paint on your main colours, and then when they're done you put your washes on for effect, and then your final enhancements to really bring the model out to a nice standard is the final highlights. So that's the same 3 steps that we'll use in this video for Genestealers. So just doing the basic colours here, filling them out. Just making sure I get all these skulls and filling in the eye sockets. There's one just tucked under that. That's it. So just going to check the other side. There's no skulls there. So that's that. It's pretty much the base and getting there, really just a few wires to pick out, and then that's that part of the model done. Alright, just on the Wazdakka Red. I would say the tongue for this one, but there isn't a tongue on this particular model, but you can see it on this one here. Just Wazdakka Red, just pick out the tongue just there. But I'm also going to use it on the wiring here. I'm going to pick out a wire and just paint it red. Not all of them, just one. Will do is this one here sticking out. I'm going to do in the Wazdakka Red. Just got to find where the wire goes up. Follow it along. Just end it just there. So that's the wire running up. Could do another one, it's tempting. I'll put one here at the other end. Like so. Just tuck it in there. I'll tidy it up a bit later with the black. That's looking good. Okay, so that's the wire running up through there. Just to mention, to remember to do the wiring on the underside as well, on either side. I've chosen a different wire. It doesn't have to. It's wires running, independent wires running either side, so you don't have to do the same. It doesn't have to match what you've painted on the other side. Just another colour I'm going to use for the wires here, because I think they'd be all different colours. I'm going to use snot green. It's just different contrasting colours to your actual colour scheme. Just helps to pick out the detail on the base. So I'm going to run this one. I'm just going to do this once, just one wire running through on this one, and the rest I'll do black. So just run that through there, through there. I'm trying to be neater with this one. Don't want to run into the red. This is a layer brush size S, small, I think. That's just the new way they're doing the brushes now. Then run through to there. So that's that one. And then around the other side, I'll just do one tucked in the corner here. And down. So that's good. So that's that done. So then what I do is take the black, the Abaddon Black, and any wires that haven't been painted, then I'll very carefully just go over those, and that should just finish off the base colours for this area. So just filling in the black here. Just makes it an area of interest, not too much effort to do it. I think it does make a nice difference. There's a wire sticking out just there. Give that a coat of black, like so. So you see that, just a mixture of wires. I think it looks pretty good. Okay, so that's that done. See the colours there on the base for all the wiring, got the skulls in, so that's all ready for washes now, looking pretty good. Just creates an area of interest here. Nice backdrop for this Genestealer. So, I'm going to get to work here. Quite straightforward. We're going to use the Necron Abyss. I've got a larger brush, it's the old base coat brush. And we're just going to put the colour onto the Genestealer here. Now, any areas where this Lich Purple, this old Lich Purple, or as it's called now, the Xereus Purple, will go, wherever that's going to be, you don't need to paint this colour on. So just the plate armour here, fill that in. The arms, there's some little areas where we're going to put some of the purple on later. Just going over, that doesn't matter, I can pick them out later on. Just going to stop at the hands, there's no point in going further than that, because they're all going to be that purpley colour. And then just working my way around the armour. Like so. So just paint all the areas that are going to be that colour, you see here. So not painting the hands. See these little areas here? I'll pick those out later on with the colour, not worrying about the head, although there is that armour just on top there. And then working underneath into the ribcage and so on. It's all that solid colour, so it should be quite straightforward to do. Feet there, you can see, don't need to paint those either. Okay, so that's that done. It's just drying there. So what we're going to do is the next colour, which is this purpley colour. So there's your Lich Purple here, or as it's called, the Xereus Purple. Now, I'm going to put some onto a palette, like so. And I'm going to try and mix up a lighter version of this colour by adding white to it. And I'm just going to keep adding white until I'm happy with it. I have to bear in mind I'm going to put a purple wash over this, so I don't want it to be too dark. I've got to keep it pretty light. So I think something like that. I might go a little bit lighter. So you got something like that kind of colour. I'll just angle it so you can see it in the light. So that kind of colour there. Definitely a lighter version of that purple. So any areas that will be that colour, I'll paint on. So it'll be the hands here, will be that colour, the head and the feet. So I'll just work it in. I'm not worried if it goes onto the claws here. I'm not going to worry about those till the very end. Just paint those black. So if you run onto them, it's no problem. You do want to be neat around the where it joins onto the armour. So just picking out the hands like so. Hands, head, feet is pretty much it. And then with a fine brush, I'll wash this out and use a fine brush and then pick out those cracks in between the armour with that colour as well. So I'll get that done and show you the result. So just working on the model here, you can see I've done the hands like so. Really struggling to get the paint on, so I let the paint dry at the stage that I was at, and I've just actually given this a coat of purity seal again, and now the paint's going on fine. So even if during the middle of painting you're struggling to get that paint on without it blotching and so on, then there's no harm in giving a coat of purity seal even midway through what you're doing. So just working around the head here. The base of the neck is actually the pink colour, so I'm just going to work that in carefully. Around here. And then being careful with the teeth, although that's something you can pick out later. Do need to put the dark blue on top of that crest that he has. Just keep going to the jaw. And around. And around to the other side. Like so. So I'm just going to keep going here. You can see the colours starting to come together now. Right, so there he is. And so I've neatly gone around here, done the purpley colour here, the Xereus Purple, and then with a larger brush, base coat brush, and then taken a layer brush small, with a nice tip, and then painted the inserts here just in between the armour, like so. They're on the legs as well, see them at the back. So on the joints, you just have to look to see wherever you get that ribbed effect is where the joints are. They need to be painted in that purpley colour. But that's the main colours done. You can see it's come together pretty well actually. The basing's pretty much ready for washes, and then this model is pretty much ready as well. Yeah, no. So we're going to go on to washes next. For the model, a couple of washes will do to add effect to this Genestealer. Right, so first wash is for the base, and this is Seraphim Sepia. I'm going to take a larger brush here. This is a wash brush, nice big one, and I'm going to use this on all the metallics, all the bone, skulls and so on, and all the cables. So just everything on the base gets a coat of this, which makes it nice and easy. And then just flowing it in, and then using the brush to stipple it in, to make sure it goes into all the cracks and all the eye sockets for the skulls. So instead of grey in the sockets, now you've got this nice washed in brown look, which I think looks better. And then just running the wash across all the metal work here, all the wiring. It helps to seal the whole thing in. And then just underneath, I'm holding the edge of the base, so I'm not going to coat that yet. That'll be the last bit I do. Just making sure I work the wash in. There'll be another wash to go on top of this when it's dry. And then just rotating the model around. Just making sure I cover every angle. Then just up to the feet, where the foot joins the base. Run it down here. So, and then round to the other side. Just filling in the cables. Just helps to blend the whole thing in nicely in the gap. So I've got some paint on the edge here, just with some paint on my fingers, doesn't matter, repair that later on. It's no problem at all. Or I may just try and wipe it off that. Might be easier because it's easy to get to. And just working in all the grills here, making sure they're filled in with the wash, just to make sure the effect's on them nicely, and then all the way around across the piping. Done. Now, solid panels, yes, they can be done. So I'm just holding the model at the other end. Underneath you can do if you wish. I'm going to do it. It helps to seal the paint in nicely. So I'll paint underneath. Along this edge, I'm going to try and wash that off just there. It's actually coming off just with... Now I've wetted it with the wash, it's actually coming off quite easily with just a fingernail. Just wetting my finger and rubbing it off. Like so. That looks good. Now I'll just put the wash over the top of that. So it's good, let that dry. That's that on there. See, it just links everything in together. Right, it's still dry in the base there. I can actually start another ink that's not going to interfere with that. And that's this Leviathan Purple. So just going to hold that like that. And then put this on wherever the purple colour is. So hands, feet, we'll get a coat of this. Just being careful around the base, don't want to flood it onto the ink that's drying, so just tucking it in, like so. And then all those cracks, where that ribbed effect is on the arms and legs, just going to flow a bit into there. Go around to the other side and do it. There, there and there, it's quite quick. Feet looking good. So it's good to do it in a lighter shade. If you go too dark, then it's harder to bring up when you highlight later on. Just flooding onto the feet. It's a nice effect, this. Like so. And then just onto the hands. Don't want to flood too much. I'm fill in the details, but not flood it too much, because remember you've got to highlight up from this afterwards. So the darker you go, the more work you'll need to bring it up. So it looks fine. Do this other hand. Again, flowing onto the claws, not worried about those. I used to paint them first, but found there was no point. Just paint the black neatly on later on, once all your other effects are finished. It's just this hand at the back. Flip them over, upside down, and tuck the wash in there. I think these washes are one of the best inventions that Games Workshop have ever done. So handy. Used to be inks. Inks are okay, but these washes, they dry really nice. So they're a good job. Just filling in the mouth and the eye socket and the head. Don't want to go too heavy on the head because I've got to highlight that up later on, so I'm just taking some excess wash away from that because it's not going to be in shade. I'm just going to fill in the mouth here to make it dark. Not too worried about the teeth being covered. We'll pick them out again later on. So then just around the back of the head, just taking away the spare with a finger, and then up underneath the jaw. All the details around there, just filling that in as well. A few sockets here to do in between the arms. It's looking good. You see the wash there? Picking out the detail nicely, and then we'll come to highlights later on. But making good progress here with the washes. 2 more washes to go after this. Right, then the next wash is the Drakenhof Nightshade. And I'm going to use that to seal in all of this Necron Abyss blue armour here. So you don't really notice it, but washes are really good for sealing paint in, to help them protect the paint from wear and tear, and just to link the whole thing together. So really I just go around this Necron Abyss paint here. Areas are painted, just being careful not to get it too much in the cracks there of any purple areas. I like to do, you'll see it'll take a lot of the sheen away from this paint and will give you a nice surface to do the highlights later on. So just run around the model there, in all of the ribbed areas, down here near the tail, around the legs, like so. And it just seals the whole thing in. Doesn't take too long. You don't have to do that one, but I like to do it. I think it looks good. And just any areas of shade that you want to strengthen, then you just apply a coat of this, and it will fill it in just around where the hands are. Just coating all that. There we are, looking good. So there it is, all done. So that's a nice coat on this. That's all the washes for him finished. One wash left, and that's just to do this metal work here. Right, then the final wash is the Agrax Earthshade. We're just going to use that on the base. This is shaded pretty good already, but this will just seal it nicely. Nice depth of colour to it. So last wash brush here is the brush that I'm using, nice and big. And again, same thing, just the whole of the base, all the metal work, wiring, skulls, all gets picked out. And that's the speed of the technique here, and it helps to unify all your colours. You've got different colours being put on, and then to unify them, to blend them all into each other, washes are a really good method of doing that. So just making sure the colour tucks in, filling in all those eye sockets for the skulls, working it into all the detail, like so, up underneath, and then onto the other side, making sure all the details get filled in, and then around the wires, just unites them all together, and then just all the metal work here. Just creates areas of light and shade as well. It just adds nice depth to what you're painting. It's not hard, it's quite easy, this technique, quite straightforward, but the results you get can be look pretty good. Just run around the panels here of the base now, and then holding onto the model, I'll just paint underneath. Not that you'll see it, but the washes again, they seal in the paint nicely, makes them a bit more durable and less likely to wear off. So that's that. I'll just leave them on his side like so, just to dry. So let that totally dry. That's all the washes finished. So that's that stage done. That's the second stage. So next is the third and final stage. That's the final highlights, picking out all the detail. Still a fair bit of work to do, but you're starting to get well through, sort of halfway through the process. Okay, so washes have dried here. I've actually sped them up just for the sake of this video. You actually used a hairdryer. If you ever find yourself in a spot where you need to get a wash or paint work dried pretty quick, just carefully use a hairdryer, moving it around the model, and that speeds the whole process up. So that's ready now. That's dry enough to be able to put the final finishing touches onto the model here. So third stage is final highlights and colours, just to bring the whole model out. It's very important for this particular project. See the difference between the two. So we've got to get from this stage to the finished item like this. So I think we'll start with the base first. We'll get the base up to standard here. So I'm going to paint the skulls first of all. Let's do the skulls on the base here. So we'll get them done. So two colours, Ushabti Bone, which I have here, and then Ceramite White to help make the final highlight. So Ushabti Bone, I'm going to use just a layer brush here, nice fine tip to it. Then Ushabti Bone, just going to repaint the skull. So going around the eye sockets, like so. Around the nose. Being careful with the teeth, either just skimming over the top of the teeth to pick them out, or just picking the individual teeth out if you're able to. And just the side of the skull just there. So just going to repeat that process for all of these. So this one, underneath. So the shading's all done for you. So then you're just picking out the main features here. So again, around the eye sockets, I'm going to flick over the teeth, like so, and just under there. There's a little bit of a skull just showing there, and there's a skull here just on its side. You see how it helps to make these features just leap out with the shading, really adding depth to the model, and then just picking out the teeth there. And then there's a skull just here. Doesn't take too long. I think it's worth the effect. and then there's just the top of the skull just tucked in there. Okay, looking nice. I'm going to go a second coat here, so I'm going to go back to the one that I started with. It's drying out. Just a second coat just to strengthen it, and any areas where the paint's not too strong, just going over the top of that, and then I'll pick out, just strengthen the colours here as well. There, so that looks pretty good, but a final highlight will help make this look even better. So for final highlight, I take a fair amount of the Ceramite White, put it onto a palette, and then add some Ushabti Bone, enough to make it that creamy colour, but still a strong enough lighter shade. And then with that, I just pick out key features like the rims around the eyes, the eye sockets, around the nose, and then just the tips of the teeth. It's pretty much it. So again, move on to the next one, just around the eye socket, around the nose, and then just picking out the teeth. Same again, especially along the eyebrow line, and then a few teeth. And a little bit of shading like that, or a highlight like that, it does make a difference, as you can see. Just around the eye socket like that. There's one just tucked in there, one just underneath. So you see that? That's just picked out the details of those skulls. They really stand out now. They're a really nice feature. You may as well, I mean, they've really made an effort with the sculpting and the base work on these models, so just a little bit of work just picks those out nicely. That's the skulls all finished. You can add blood effect to them if you want. You can water down a bit of red paint, a bit of Agrax Earthshade, and sort of blotch it on if you want to go for that. I've just gone for just a clean sort of skulls kind of look just there. I think it looks fine. So that's that bit done. Right, just picking out the green cable. Just to mention, Flash Gitz Yellow then I've got here now to use just to help highlight that, to build up that highlight colour. So I'm going to take some of the old snot green, Flash Gitz Yellow, mix it together to a lighter version, and then just a fine line, just run it along the green piping, just like so. It's just like a line running along the top, so you're not filling out the whole model or the whole piping with it, just sort of thinner line running along the top like that, and that just helps lift that here, and then just on the end, just there. Turn them over. Just doing the underside now. So fine line, using this small layer brush here with a nice tip, and then just running underneath there. I've just made a little mistake, so wash the brush out. Wet brush quickly onto the paint that shouldn't be there. Just wash it away. It's not moving, so I'll take a little bit of black paint and then just fill that in. That's it. Just deal with mistakes as they come up. But that's that green picked out on the underside there. And again, just lifts the colour. See that nicely lifted up? Doing the same process here, we'll go straight onto the red. So take the Wazdakka Red. For this one, you can highlight with either yellow to make an orangey colour, which I think I will, because I mean you could just use orange paint, but I'll just keep going here. So take some Wazdakka Red, some yellow, mix it up to make an orange colour, and then pick out the cable just there, like so. Now, the reason why I've gone for yellow is because if there's a model with a tongue, you'd use white mixed with the red to highlight that, and then if you do it yellow here, it just makes the two different from each other. If you have them the same, it can look a little bit odd, just to show they're different things. The tongue and the cable are different. Just running this orange down on the cable, just here, I mean, it does make a difference, it lifts it nicely. And again, same with the green, just a thin line run along the top of the red cable here. So there, any areas that are really hard to reach and really fine, I just leave them. It's not fussed on reaching every corner. That's not tidy enough, I'll come back to that one. Putting more of a depth or strength of colour on the tips here. I want those to stand out a bit more. There, just starting the cable off. So stronger on the end, like so. Just run the highlight down here, like that, all the way along, and then just picking up underneath just like so. So there's the cables. You see how it lifts them up there? It's not too bad. And I'm just going to put a bit more paint on the end of this bit just to strengthen that, like that, so you can see that. Good. Okay, so just take the palette away. So we picked out the skulls now. The cable's looking good. For the black cables here, I just leave them. You can highlight them if you want to. I'm not too fussed on it. I just leave them black as they are. You can highlight them with a bit of grey if you wish. So, but I'm happy with the cables like that. You can use different colours. You can do blue ones. You can, if you really want to go to town on them, you can do yellow, black, striped, and it's a fair bit more work, but it does look really cool. Or you can just mix and match the colours up. Blue's quite a nice colour to do as well. I've gone for red and green there, and I think it looks okay. So now, to finish the base work off, I'm going to take the colour that you put down originally, the Iron Breaker, and I'm just going to highlight the metal work, like so, and you can see it coming up pretty good there. So just along the surface, highlights like that. So corners and lines I want to do, pipes, pick out the pipes here, so run the brush along and around. Any studs and little bolts and so on can be picked out. Any ribbed areas, just going to run the brush along sideways like that, like that. Going to pick out this bit. Not be too fussy, don't need to be too fussy. But again, it's another highlight that really does make a big difference. I'm going to run a line along the ridge, the edge here, like so, and the bottom ridge. I'm going to pick out all the studs with it. This cross brace here, I'll do the inside brace. Fine work here, just trying to, so that there's some shading in between, if you see what I mean. Cross brace here, there's a few bits of red and green paint flicked onto it, so I'm actually repairing and making that good as well. You can see the effect. Very carefully just picking out the tips of these. You may not think it's worth it, but it is noticeable. Sometimes you can run the brush, see if I can get away with it here, run the brush sideways so it just catches the edge. Seems to have paid off there. And the inside line. Just run that inside line. Yeah, not too bad. And then just doing the inside and outside line on the other bit of the sort of strut here, putting around, picking out these little bits, like so. Bit of piping. It's looking good. Come to the back here, I might just flick a bit onto there, like so, just to buff that up. Just the backing of the pipe here. Because you want to paint one side, the other side, and then have a line of shading in the middle. So you're going to make sure you get all the way around. Just going to roll the miniature over now. And then do the rest. So here, piping. And just all this work here. This grid. Just run the brush over the top of that and the detail just gets picked out. So it's not too slow, not too bad. A few little studs to pick out. Run the brush again over the ribbed work and that picks that out. So you can see the difference it makes. Do it around this archway. Any areas you mess up, this is the original colour you use, so you can just paint it, put a wash back on again, and repair any damage, but shouldn't be too much of a problem. There, I was quite happy with that. So now I've got the edge to do here, which I'm just going to run the brush up sideways. Can actually give you a nice fine edge. You don't overload it with paint. See the edge I picked out there? It's just running the brush up sideways. It's a bit quicker and a bit sharper than painting, trying to run the line along with the paint, but instead just run the brush sideways along. Try and pick out these little studs. Just a tip of paint. Just got I have a tip of paint here just on the end of the brush. It's not loaded up fully. That picks them out. There's some empty studs here, so just run the brush around those just to highlight them. Then there is the inside line, which I'm going to try and pick out very neatly. I'm actually using my finger here to brace against the model. And both my hands are on the desk, so there's no vibration. Run the brush along. There, and then these centre braces here, I just fill them in. And again, there's a bit of paint, a bit of red and green paint, so I'm just tidying them up. Like so. Looking pretty good. Just do some work on the end, fill out the end bit here. A little bit of work underneath, I don't need too much. Right, so then there's this bit here. I actually took a stand knife and made some marks on this. It was solid all the way along, but I like to put a few scrape marks. Actually, then going to pick those out with a brush here. Like so. Other than that, you can, the endy bit here, I can just run the brush some strokes across like that, just to make us, like, wherever something ends or starts, you can do that kind of effect just on the end, like that, just with some fine lines, just to start it off. Right, with that all done, I can handle the model here and then just run the brush along and pick out the edges of this base. So you can see so I've got the brush and I'm just running the brush sideways along, and you can see the colour following on. It gives you a nice sharp line, as long as you don't overload the brush, it doesn't go over the edges. Rotate the model around the other side, that picks that out. It's quicker and it's neater as well at times. Nice sharp clean edge along there. Same there, and then do the ends, the corners, these bits. 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then completely upside down with the model, and then just run that. So you've got to be careful now when I handle it. Don't want to rub that paint off. It shouldn't come off. But if you handle it too much, you might start to rub the paint off. So just be delicate when you handle the model. I'm just going to run the brush along there. Looking good. And then just this last bit. Like so. So that's all the metal work done. It's actually the basing finished, and you can see it just sets the model off really nice. Brilliant focal point here, or backdrop here for this Genestealer coming down. Looking really good. So that's the base work finished. We'll go on to the actual Genestealer itself now. Okay, so what we're going to do is going to highlight the armour plate here. So bringing one that I've done. So you can see we've used all the washes and so on are done, and then we want to pick out this blue colour just on the ribbed areas, the edge of the armour and so on. I think it's a really nice effect. It's not over the tops, the original colour's still there, but you're just picking out the edges. Now that actual blue just comes by adding white to the Necron Abyss. You're just taking the original colour, adding white to it. So I'm going to drop some of this onto the palette. Take some white, and you see it immediately turns into that colour. And I want to keep adding Necron Abyss. I don't want it to be too light. I don't want it to be too dark. Just got to strike the right balance. I'm going to add some water. So it has a nice flow. Don't want it to be blobby. So there's a nice flow to it there. I'm going to take some of the paint out of the brush. It's got a nice tip. And I'm just going to paint a few of these ribs here and see how they look. It might be a little bit too bright. I'm just going to paint a few more of these. So that's the colour coming up. I think it looks okay. I'm going to try and do an edge here of this armour. Yeah, it's not bad. I think it's a little bit too light, so I'm going to add in a bit more of the Necron Abyss. A bit more water. I think that'll do. So it's just a case of a bit more water. Well, a nice flow to this. Now keep your highlights nice and crisp and sharp. So the areas to pick out then is these ribbed areas coming down. Pick out all of those. Then the edges of the armour get picked out with this colour as well. Like so. And then just there, that's where I've done, where the pink is just there, the cracks. I've just gone around the edge of the armour, anywhere the edge of the armour is basically. So all around the joints in the arms, you'll see a ridge of armour. That can be picked out with this Necron Abyss colour. It will look better when you put your the washes can look a bit blotchy and so on, and not quite as good, but once that spray goes on, you'll see the model improve, look better, and it will come together quite nicely. Just highlighting underneath here, turning the model on its side to make sure I join the highlights of the armour together. Just underneath there. Not too fussed underneath. I'm going to pick out some of these ribbed bits. Just using the brush sideways just to quickly pick out those ribs just there. I'm adding more water to the mix. And a little bit more Necron Abyss actually just to keep that shade down. There's highlights on the legs. So there's the edge of this to pick out. Nice fine line for that one. So you can see it there. Pick out the detail in his kneecaps. The armour. Details around the feet. Again, there's a ridge line of armour just there. You can pick out some of the muscular parts here. Don't want to do too much though, a little bit. And a little bit here on this one as well. And just details around the ankle. Then Going along sideways here with the brush, picking out the detail in his tail. The ribs here, I'm going to go sideways with the brush. Maybe not, it's quite awkward that. I'll just run the brush along and pick these ones out individually. Nice sharp line. Sideways with the brush on these spines, these spinal column bits here sticking out. Sideways with the brush on the edge of them. And then on top, I'll just run it behind. And down the other side. And then around the front. You can see that's picked out like so. Paint starts to dry on your palette, so I just add more water just to keep it a nice flowing consistency. Pigment's strong enough on this, so it doesn't matter if it's thinned down a little bit. I'm just going to pick out the ribs here as well, like so. So that's it. I just keep running the work around. You can see, running the brush around, you can see just picking out the details there. Not looking too bad, so I'll do the rest of the model. Okay, so that's the highlighting done. See, that picks out that armour nicely there. Should look even better once the varnish goes on. You know, the glossy areas and so on will be toned down to help unite the whole model together. Just a few bits to mention. Just on the side of the head here, usually there's a couple of veins, you'll see them sculpted on the model. I've just put those in with the blue just there, and on the side here I'll go around them neatly when we come to highlighting the head. So that's the next bit. So you take your what's it called here, Lich Purple, or Xereus Purple as it's called now, and same technique again. I'm going to take this colour and then add Ceramite White to it to bring it up to a nice shade. We'll do this in a couple of layers, so I want to bring it up to kind of that colour, so there's some difference, fair bit of work here to bring it up to that colour. So I'm going to take white first and add it onto the palette, because I'm only going to need a spot, a literal spot of that purple. There's some on the end of a brush that's probably even too much, so I'm going to take out a good chunk of it, mix it in, and you'll see here that it mixes up a light version of that purple. So that is light enough. I'll bring it up to the screen here so you can see. It's kind of that colour, a little bit bright. I'll just tone down here on the camera so you can see the colour. So the original's just there on the left here, and then white, and then a spot of it just to make it that off colour there. A little bit of water. Again, we want it to flow. I don't want it to be too watery though, because this won't be a strong pigment. And then I'll use that then to pick out details here. So I'll put it on to the head for you to see. That's going on nice. That's a nice shade, that. And I want to be neat with this one, so I'm going to go up and around to the armour. Now you do second coat later, so you'll be able to sharpen it up, and you'll be able to, any hazy areas where the older colour's sticking through, you'll be able to go for that. So you just use your inks gone on and picked out the shading for you, so that will give you a guide as to what to pick out and what to leave. So the jawline here, running along, neatly going around that vein, like so, and just tucking around the head, filling in that whole area along there. Just flicked a spot of it onto the blue, just remove that. And then I'm going to add a little bit of water to this to keep it flowing. And then these mandibles here, these jaw bits coming down in the very edge of them. The actual jaw itself. I've got too much paint on my brush, so I'll lose a lot of it, just paint a lot of it out. Go around the nose, sort of the snout, and then the line, the lips really, not that they have lips as such, but just that line runs along there. We'll pick out the teeth later on. That's it. I'm just going to sharpen it up, just tuck the brush into there. Like so, that looks better. Face the front of the head. Pick out the lips either side, like that. I'll paint the rest of the head, but that just gives you an idea. There's some of the neck bits sticking out, they can be highlighted just up to where they join the armour, just carefully in there. There's a few, it's like sinews that connect the head to the body. I'm just picking those out. Like so, that's looking good. So I go around the whole model like that. With the hands then, just show you here, just picking out the knuckles. I want to pick out the knuckles nicely, so knuckles 1, 2, 3, 4. Then again the sinews on the back of the hand, just gently pick those out. Any ribbed areas, see now where this joint is. If it's a shallow area of shading, then just paint it solid. It's the deep areas of shade you want to go around, like that. We will pick out a further highlight later on. I'm just going to go solid there. You see I'm just picking out the details nice and neatly. Going to add more water to this mix. It's drying up quite quick. Nice strong edge, like so. Like that, just working along. Like that. So just picking out the details there, underneath as well, and so on. Then drying the brush out, taking off a fair amount of the paint, so there's only a little bit left, and then very gently picking out the pink just in the cracks there, and any ridges will be highlighted and it will leave the details, it'll leave the shaded areas dark. So that's just a finishing touch on them, like so. But I'll carry on here, we'll get the rest of this pink colour done. Okay, so that's a coat, one coat done all the way around there. Looking pretty good, it's pretty much there, but if you compare the two, there's still a little bit lighter on this one. So again, take some white and a tiny bit of this purple here, this lilac-y sort of shade, and again just adding some water to keep it nice and flowing. And then I'm just saying that's a little bit too strong. A bit more water. And again, so this one, I'm going to pick out things like the head, the jawline and so on, and not all the details, but the main ridges. So the dome of the head, the jawline just under the eyes, the nose, the edge of the lips, the chin, a little bit of the head there. Need to actually catch the eyebrow, like so. That's better. And just get a nice finish on top of the head there. It's all very noticeable. That's evenly done. That's a better result there. May need a third coat, depends on how this dries. It seems to dry darker than what you put it on, so you only know once it's dried if it's light enough. Just going to pick out a bit of that edge, eyebrow, jawline, nose, lips and chin. So going to add a bit more white to it actually, just to strengthen it, keep the liquid water going there. So things like the hands, the ridge at the edge where the claws are, I'll pick out, and then basically any knuckles, so knuckle areas there. It's not picking out as much as last time, but sort of like that. And that really just does lift that a bit more. So knuckles on the fingers here, just the edge of the fingers, just where they join the claws, like that. And you can see the difference. On the other side, knuckles, ends of the fingers. And just moving on to the other hand here. So again, main emphasis is the knuckles and the sinews, just like that. And then just down here as well, the fingers here. Then the ends of the fingers, like that. And it's just, you see the difference that it's making. So I'll just run around the rest of the model here. Just keep this coming. Okay, so that's that done. I've actually done a third coat here on top of the head, just to really strengthen that colour, just to bring it up to sort of the same shade, just there. So happy enough with that now. Picked out the knuckles as well with the third coat. Just seems to be layers there with the white not being so strong, but you may find it slightly different depending on the consistency of your paint. So that's that done. We've got the teeth left to pick out. That should be easy, and then the claws as well to finish off. So for the teeth, is the Ushabti Bone. And I just mix it straight up with some white. Now I'll try and take the paint off the brush, just running onto the palette here, and then just run the brush along sideways. Should just pick out the teeth nicely. Like so, that's looking good. And then come around the other side, sideways along with the brush. Probably didn't need to paint that earlier with the Ushabti Bone to start off with, just at the end there to pick that out, but they're sculpted on for you, so just sideways with the brush just picks those out. So that's the teeth done, nice and easy. Next is a little bit that's easily forgotten. Take some of the yellow, mix it with a little bit of white, and then just pick out the eyes, if you can see them, which I can see them here on this model. So just tucked in there, and then just tucked in there. Don't overload the brush. Looks alright. Got a little bit of spare paint blotched in there, so just clear it out with the brush, like so. That's done. So you can just about see it. There's his eyes just glowing there, a little bit yellow and white, just to do those, and that's that bit done. So for the claws, you haven't really touched them yet. You're going to take your black here, your Abaddon Black paint, nice brush, and then just paint them black. And you just go up to the line of where you see them start, so you're just painting up to that edge there. And this really neatens the model. You'll see a big difference when you put this on. And it's looking a little bit tatty with all the shade blotched on, but as soon as this goes on here in solid black, it just neatens the whole model up. So just run around those. Now there's some of these things also on the arms, on the corner of his elbow here, there's one of those, that goes to solid black as well. I'm just going to flip them upside down to make sure I catch that behind. There's one on the other side, and just underneath, and on the back arm as well there's one, and one just here. Flip them all around, paint underneath. Again, doesn't take too long, this one, it's not too bad. There's some on his mandibles here, on his jawline, there's two of these things, so just cover them there, flip them upside down, just cover them underneath, like so. Just keep going with the claws then. So just the other claws on this hand here. Again, turn the model upside down, and then just neatly paint them on. You do want to be neat at this stage. That's it, so you can see the claws filled out there. So I'll go around to paint all these claws black. Right, so then they're all done. Claws looking nice and neat. Then to finish off, I take Dawnstone, water it down. You can't put this on thick, but quite watery. And then I just put it onto the tips. Run the brush along, sort of with the length of the claw. I just catch the tips. Maybe just one stroke. If you go overboard with this, you'll make the claws go grey. You don't want to do that. You just want to catch the ends of them, just to show that you've highlighted the tip. You don't have to do this. I think it looks quite nice. You can see that subtle. It is subtle, and it will stay subtle as long as you keep the paint quite thinned down. If you go thick with the paint, then you're just painting grey on black and it doesn't look very nice. So just thin down paint. And you emphasise in the ends. You don't want to go the whole full length of the claw, but just the ends really is what you're after. So all the claws, one's on the arms. Just a little dash of the grey on these shorter claws at the back. Probably not worry about underneath, it's not going to be seen. Just get the tips of these claws. It does pick them out so that they're more visible. And then just the claws on the feet. Like so. That's not looking bad. And then let's go around to the other side. Again, just sort of picking out one edge, not worrying about painting all the way around, but just catching an edge here with this grey, and that's it. Doesn't need to take too long. That looks pretty effective. Alright, so you can see that effect there just on the claws. Looking good. He's leaping down. Perhaps an ambush attack against one of the Terminators. That is actually him finished. I'm going to mention something actually, which I've seen, which I think is worth mentioning. I'm just going to take the Necron Abyss and the white. I want to mix up that same colour again that I had earlier on. So I want to keep it quite down. So I've just spotted an area that needs to be done properly. So you see you've got the shoulders here. I've done the edge, but I didn't do it sideways. I can see it there, it hasn't been done, so I'm just picking that out. It's quite noticeable. It's just the side of the shoulder pads just there needs to be picked out. Like so. Just a simple finishing touch. Little things like that you see that can be done properly, but there he is. Finished. So that's the finished model from start to finish. Just using that 3-part process. You put your base colours on, and then your washes, different washes, different types of washes, colours for the model and then for the base, and then we picked out with the final highlights. Don't take too long, not too bad. You can paint these in batches of 10. I should imagine it shouldn't take you too long. I mean, if you're painting these without the base here, you're just going for regular slotter bases, then you've got all that work there you don't need to do, so that would speed things up a fair bit. But I am a big fan of this colour scheme, really do like it. It's classic Genestealer colours, and it'll go very nicely. Well, it is actually the actual colour scheme for the Space Hulk set. So Blood Angels are done. I've got some Genestealers left to do, and then they'll all be finished. But that's how to paint them in this tutorial. So start to finish, we've covered how to paint Genestealers. You can easily use this technique, and I think I would use this technique if I was going to collect Genestealer Cults. It would be this purpley mauve kind of colours I would go for that colour scheme. But there it is. As I said, check out the Blood Angels tutorial. That's already up and running on the channel, and then on the Plus channel you can go on there and you can actually see battle reports featuring these Genestealers in our Space Hulk 2009 campaign that we're doing on there. But there it is, how to paint Genestealers Thanks for watching, and tune in next time.